Welcome to episode 74 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic. So
This has
we're
been a really long day, dude. This has been a really long day.
well. You just got out of
for
the
folk-
movie. You just got out of the movie
Well,
too.
yeah, I got out of the movie and then I went to get set up to record with you, and no laptop. I forgot it at work, so I had to scramble to find someone with recording equipment, and I got it done under the wire. So we're here barely.
Yeah, we're gonna
Dude,
do Power Rangers tonight because it was on my top 10 list. So it's like my turn now. Let's see. Power Rangers. I grew up.
Yeah.
Well, I watched this in New Jersey, and you know what's in New Jersey? Wawa. Wawa is in New Jersey.
Wow.
And every time I get like the munchies at like 11 or 11:30 at night, I wish I could have their Italian sub. Like you could, it's so cool because you remember, right? You could pick it from the the touch screen, and you could pick like different
Yes.
like all these like you could basically load the shit out of this thing, and it's like it's still cheap as hell, like cheaper and better than anything you'll ever get at Subway. Plus, they don't have a history of cutting the bread the wrong fucking way. So again, we're gonna keep mentioning Wawa till we get noticed, or till Wawa starts saying, "Hey, check out these two idiots that keep mentioning us."
Knock it off. We're going to sue you.
Yeah, that too. So once again, we're going to hashtag the episode with West Coast Wawa. All right, so on to
Yes.
Power Rangers. So this was my nostalgia movie for the top 10 anticipated for 2017. But you know what? The trailers looked different, and it for me it all comes back to that short that was released that had James Van Der Beek, and I forget the woman's name, but she was in Frack. What was her name?
She's Starbucks.
Yeah, Starbuck, right? In Battlestar Galactica. And anyway, so they took a different spin on Power Rangers. I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. You know, like this is completely what I would have wanted in a Power Rangers movie. Fast forward to 2017, and we get this one. So I'll go first. I'll go first with my initial reaction. Surprisingly, I did not mind this movie. I don't know why. Maybe because I just binge watched 13 episodes of Iron Fist, and like the following week I get to watch Power Rangers, but I didn't mind it as much. There are definite issues with this movie. We'll definitely get into that. I'm pretty sure BJ will get into that too. But my initial reaction to this is that I was pleasantly surprised, even though the Rotten Tomato ratings I think right now are like 44%, which is not great, but still better than Justice League. Or I'm sorry, not Justice League, Batman v Superman, but
Or will be better than Justice League.
right. It won't make as much money, but I was kind of surprised. It fell a little short to me in the biggest area, which was the team up. 3 of the 5 characters fit perfectly together. And we'll get into that more. I'm sure that's one of your biggest issues too. And then the 2 other are just kind of thrown in there at the last minute. But then they kind of have each of them. It seemed like the writers, even though they were introduced in a shitty way, the 2 characters had their chance to shine and play big throughout the rest of the movie. Everybody got their moment in the movie. Bryan Cranston is always solid, and he was solid as this. I think Bill Hader was Alpha 5, right? Was Bill Hader?
Yes.
Bill Hader was okay. He was definitely the comic relief. I don't know. I mean, that's my initial reaction. I'll let you do your initial reaction before we get into more details.
I fucking hate this movie. I'll tell you what. Okay, so I'll start with the positive though.
Okay.
They definitely, the writers really took care in the characters. They really wrote them very well. These are all relatable people. Like you have the jock who doesn't really want to be, a jock, and he screws around. And
He's basically James Van Der Beek in
Varsity Blues.
Yes, yeah. He just didn't say I don't want your life.
In the really bad Southern accent.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you had a girl who was struggling with her sexuality, and then it wasn't in your face, which I like that.
It explains her character and why she comes off the way she does.
Yes. Then you have a girl that's just full of anger for some reason, and she doesn't like who she is, and so she kind of lashes out by doing these awful things. Like she sent a picture of her friend naked around to a bunch of people, and that got her in trouble. And then you have a kid who has some sort of form of, like, I want to say Asperger's.
I thought it was
Um,
autism because he says he's on the
maybe
spectrum.
okay, yeah. So autism, and you really like. I mean, you really feel for this guy,
Brilliant though,
and
like very brilliant in the
yes,
show.
done
I
so
mean,
well.
sorry, in the movie.
Very, very. Yeah, they took really good care. And then you have the there was an Asian guy. I really liked him, and they gave him a backstory. Like his mom's very sick, and he's trying to take care of her, and he's like skipping school and doing stuff like that because he just can't deal. Um, and then you have,
That was it.
I think that's all. I think
Yeah,
that's all,
5. Yep.
isn't it?
Yeah, there's only
Okay,
5
so five of them. So
for now.
positive thing about this, they took very good care in introducing. These are all unknown people, and they did a very good job making them relatable and very diverse cast,
Very different from
which
the
I was
TV show too, because
very different
the
than the
U.S.
show, very
version anyway.
different from each other. Yes. So I was very pleasantly happy about that. And that's where it ends. That's where it ends
Okay.
because okay, so the beginning part was interesting because it introduced them as aliens, the Bryan Cranston character, and
Yeah, I
which
thought that
was
was pretty
very
cool.
jarring. I thought I liked that a lot.
Yeah.
But instead of putting the Power Ranger logo right after that scene, they go into a scene where the jock is like stealing a cow and putting it in the locker room, and then he
Right.
like gets in a car accident and gets thrown in jail and all that shit. And then it goes Power Rangers, and I was like, okay, that's fucking weird. Why would you put the title right there? That doesn't make any sense.
I guess it seemed
So
like a logical point because there's a time jump at that point too. Not that there wasn't a time jump from
yeah,
when the beginning was, but it's more clear here. It's more clear when it says like prehistoric era, and then all of a sudden you're in a football locker room that there was a time jump. But it seemed like the Power Rangers logo was put there just to give the people a breather, and then say, okay, now we start our story.
but they put
Which
it after the. Yeah, I
I
guess, but why couldn't they just have like this like
don't know. You're right.
beginning part that
That was a
just have the. It was
no.
a weird placement.
Yeah,
That
it
was
was
all.
definitely. Now that you mentioned it, it was pretty weird too because I thought it would come right when the asteroid hit, which I thought was like kind of interesting. A
Oh, he
take.
called a asteroid down. Yeah,
Yeah, I
I
was
thought
like, oh,
the whole beginning part, I was
was
like,
pretty
oh, this is
solid.
kind of cool,
Yeah.
you know. But that's where it stops for me because it took forever to finally see them in the suit. It took like an hour and 45 minutes. I counted, and then the last 15 minutes was this again something that we've been hating on the last few bunch of movies we've watched.
Right.
If it's not a bunch of garbage in the sky, it's some crazy end of the world thing that they have to stop. Only this time it's okay because there's no other superhero around like DC Universe or something like that to help stop it. But so it's up to them. But again, it's like another end of the world scenario. And the way it play, I mean, we'll go into it a little bit later, but I don't know, man. Like I kept like waiting and waiting, and they did a little bit of training, and at the very end of the film, after they've got their ass kicked like several times, all of a sudden they've come together and now they know how to fight. All of a sudden they know how to run the Zords they've never driven before.
Right.
They form the Zord and then figure out, oh, we got to work together to fight. The big gold guy, Goldar, whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah,
And
it's
I was just
Goldar.
like, this is way too fucking convenient. Like
Yeah.
I wish that somewhere in the middle they became the Power Rangers and actually had to fight a smaller threat and then get their ass kicked by Rita and then go back and actually, like just they missed several beats and they dragged that out so far. Like they kept going back to the cave and kept coming out and they kept going
Yeah.
around and then they would, so it just, I think at one point I really like, this is how bad I thought the movie was. I didn't even wait for the mid-scene credits and I knew they were there. I just got up and left. And then, I just didn't want to sit there anymore. I was so like, I was just very angry, I guess. Like, and then like they did the whole, Go Go Power Rangers song, and I rolled my fucking eyes. And I know why they did it. I know why. But the sequence looks so cheesy. And then Alpha 5, I wanted to kick him in the fucking robot balls the whole time. I'm like, seriously, like after millions of years, you've never left this ship and you're talking like fucking, the English perfectly, and you're
Yeah, they didn't do the
I don't know. I didn't
Bumblebee
like that
thing
at
or the
all.
Transformers way of doing it, where they just listen to the radio. Um, I guess I could explain that away. I would consider that a minor nitpick. The other points that you have are the same problems I did. I don't know. I just enjoyed it obviously a lot more than you did, and the
Yeah.
things that they did in the movie, the things that they hit on, right? That they really hit on. They took really, like you said in your initial reaction, is they definitely took time to make you care about these characters. Like it mattered.
Hmm.
Like as stupid as it was, it actually mattered as to why he jumped out of one of the Zords at the end to save his father. Like, and that whole scene made sense because they were building up to that scene. You know what I mean?
Okay,
Like,
so that was cool. What I didn't like was, again, this is spoiler spoiler review. What I didn't like was that it was really fucking convenient for the father to find Rita Repulsa in the ocean. And like
yeah,
she just so happens to pop up as soon as they find all the crystals and all that stuff. I think they could have found a better way for her to come back. It was way too convenient.
yeah.
And that
There was a lot of
yeah.
convenience in this movie. The part that I was actually surprised that wasn't very convenient was how they found the coins. Where the kid, Billy, I think, is the one who is either Asperger's or autistic, but they explain why he goes up there, and the whole character from detention all the way to that point, it kind of makes sense. The part that doesn't make
Yes.
sense is that it's very coincidence that two other people were there when they find the stones that have always been there. But
And
they kind of fix that
it's
later with, well, they don't fix it, but they make you care about the characters. They the best thing that the writers did and the director did was make you care about the characters. The problem is it's a Power Rangers movie, and you have to have that part sell because I'm with, like, even as convenient and as stupid as some of the plot points are before they even get into the suits and the training part of it, I'm on board because I actually gave a shit about those characters. Like that's one thing that's
yeah.
different from other movies of this type of magnitude, is that I cared that that fuck, the Pink Ranger, she did that crap because she, for you saw how she was in the beginning, through then training with the Power Rangers and all that stuff. Like you saw all these little nuances of their family, and it told amounts of background to these characters. Yes, some of them were a little bit more, like the Red Ranger got obviously the most screen time because he's a leader.
Mhm.
But every, like, even the Yellow Ranger, I don't remember her name in the movie, but Becky G is the girl who plays her. Or,
Mhm.
and she's the one that's I hate the term openly gay because she really wasn't. But
No.
that's what the headlines all said, and it's a stupid term because she's not openly gay. She actually is actually in the closet gay, and you don't find that out until she tells the other Rangers. Like that's how much she cares about the other Rangers. So
The
I don't know
whole
how that's
yeah, the whole
openly gay.
I don't either. I mean, I so this is a big issue for me because like with Beauty and the Beast and this movie now, they're making such a big deal about it, and half these people probably even watch the movie. There's just it's just coming through the grapevine or whatever,
Right.
and so they're just like pushing their agenda and all that shit. I hate it, but they utilize that story so well to the point where like I believe that people who probably are are probably in the closet or people that are openly gay, that I think it treated it so well that I think that they would be like
It made her real. Like
it made her way more real.
it gave you a reason as to why she's, like, instead of like the typical Saturday morning CBS show, she's just a badass girl that hangs out with the badass guys or whatever. It made sense to why she was acting the way she was acting. She was very cut off, and she barely talked at all in the beginning of the movie to the rest of the Rangers. And then when you finally find out why she's like that with her family, and then that she has to keep that a secret, it made complete sense. And then from then on, you're on board. Like I said again, the director and the writers did a really good job with making you care for the characters. The problem is that they actually tell you how long they're training for. That's the problem. The second they said Rita is probably going to find the crystal or be completely powered up in 11 days, and that's how long you have to train. I'm like, 11 fucking days? I'm like, okay, but you know, like, how are you supposed to? Because in the original show, I think the Red Ranger, the Green Ranger, even the Black Ranger were all martial artists in the show. The Pink Ranger was a gymnast, and I think Billy was too, the Blue Ranger, but I'm not quite sure. He might have been a gymnast as well. But all of them had some kind of training where their bodies were like that, right? Nobody in this show, nobody in this movie has any kind of fighting skills or any kind of
None.
acrobatic skills at all. None.
One's a cheerleader, one's a football player,
Yeah.
and then I don't know what the rest are.
No.
Not even the Asian guy. The Asian
No.
guy doesn't know karate.
No, doesn't know anything. The Yellow Ranger didn't know anything, and neither the Blue Ranger. Those three didn't know
Yeah.
shit. But all five didn't know. So when you tell me that, so I hated that plot point. I'm like, why did you take so much care in making us give a shit about these characters and then just flush the other important stuff down the tube, like
Right.
the training, and then I don't agree with, now that I've seen the movie, I don't agree with the showing Rita so early, considering like I don't know. I just, what if you were going to introduce Rita, you shouldn't have done Goldar, right? And you should have shown
Right.
hers. You should have did her Zord instead, because she
Oh, yeah,
apparently
that
was a
would've been
former
cool.
Ranger, right? So
Yeah, that would have been cool.
so because she turned bad or whatever, I'm with you if her Zord is a giant like Megazord. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
I can't believe I just said Megazord at 38 years old, but like if she would have powered up and been the Ranger, like been the bad Ranger or whatever, and then force them to become the Megazord or whatever, that would have been a cool story. Goldar looks so goddamn bad. Even in the commercial, I was like,
Yeah.
you know what? I'll wait till the movie and pass judgment. And I was like, it's even worse in the movie. It just looks so bad. And you're like, how is this town not even richer? Because that's a lot of fucking gold in the ground. That's a lot of fucking gold. And not
More
only
than what
that,
Fort Knox has.
not yeah, not only that, but they pull a fucking like Ghostbusters 2 in the end of this movie where they just leave Goldar melted in the middle of the fucking street. And all of them are just still
Yep.
I mean, yeah, they're all staring at the Megazord, but 5 seconds into staring at the Megazord, I would have been like, I'm going to go fucking steal a pickup truck and get this fucking gold back to the house. That's all over the
Oh
fucking
yeah.
ground. So they
Oh
just
my
leave it
God. Yeah.
there at
There's
the end of the movie.
billions
So,
of dollars,
yeah.
billions of dollars worth of gold, and a big fucking hole in the street that they're never going to be able to fill.
Or Krispy Kreme won't be able to fill again.
Yeah. Oh God, don't get me started on Krispy Kreme.
How
They
much
even
did
had
they
a
pay?
scene where Rita. They even had a scene where Rita's like trying one. I was
Yeah.
like, "Are you kidding me? Like,
That
this
that
is
at
like
that at
ridiculous."
that point it took it a little bit too far when she was eating the donut.
Nobody else would sign on to the movie. They're like, "No, I don't want to. I don't want to be associated with you." But
Krispy
Krispy
Kreme
Kreme's like,
must have
"We'll take you."
Krispy Kreme was like, we will pay for all the special effects if you get one of your main
In
characters
Goldar.
to eat the donut. Yeah.
So speaking of Rita, there were times where I thought she was so creepy. Like before she
Yeah.
was able to form to actually become, you know, what she became toward the end. But in the meantime, she was like healing herself and shit. She was fucking creepy.
Yeah.
Stealing gold out of people's mouths and shit. Um, that was really creepy. But what kind of bothered me, it was a good scene and a bad scene at the same time. But like, so she enters the was it the lesbian, the I can't remember the characters' names. That's bad, but it was the girl that who
The
came
Pink
out gay.
Ranger?
Yeah,
No,
yes, yeah.
sorry, the Yellow Ranger. Sorry, my fault.
Yellow Ranger, sorry.
Trini. Trini
So
is her name.
Rita, like, right. So Rita shows up there and wakes her up out of a dead sleep, like floating on top of her. And then they proceed to fight in the house, right? And I thought for a second, oh, this has got to be a dream. She's just dreaming about it.
Yeah.
But no, she's throwing her around into the fucking wall, like smashing the wall, smashing the desks, everything. Not one time do the parents come to the door and be like, honey, are you okay? What's going on in there? Like
Yeah.
nothing. They wreck that room. And
I
then
think
Rita disappears.
her
And I
parents
was
were
like,
like the
wait a minute.
Ramsey parents or something.
Either that they did like a bunch of heroin and they just like went to sleep for 10 hours
Yeah.
and didn't hear it. But I was like, at first I was like, no, that didn't just happen. And then at the very end of the movie, she's like patching up her walls and shit, and I was like, oh my god, that happened. Like, where were her parents?
Yeah. Yeah, that
um,
there's parts like that where again, they took so much care in making sure we gave a shit about this character. It's like what the hell happened in the last half of the movie? Like
well,
because the first
the
half
other
is pretty
okay,
solid, I think. Especially the first 5 minutes of the movie when you see their take on the Rangers in the beginning and why they're there on Earth. I was
yeah,
like, well, that's pretty
I thought that
badass.
was. I
And
thought it was cool. It was much better than the Transformers explanation.
yeah,
I love
definitely.
that
And
explanation. It
then
was
like
great.
they like gave a little wink to science where they're like, yeah, call down the asteroid Alpha 5. I was like, oh, that's how they killed the dinosaurs, you know? Like
Yes, that was badass. Yeah, I love that. All that stuff was great. So there was a part in it where they jump down this chasm into the water, and gravity kind of is taking over some weird gravity thing because of the ship, and they go in there and they do. But there's a whole sequence where they're like underwater, like swimming around quite a bit, and trying to like figure out where to go and all that stuff, and then they figure it out. But later, Rita has them all locked up like in ropes and stuff, and she sends the Blue Ranger down in the water, and he wasn't down there very long. And then they go down there, they grab him, they pull him out or
I know
whatever,
exactly what you're gonna
and he's
say.
and he's
I
and
fucking
he's
know
and he's
exactly what you're gonna
fucking
say.
and he's fucking dead. And I'm like, what? Like, you were underwater for ages, like not even 2 days ago, and now you can't like hold your breath for like 2 minutes. Like, this doesn't make any sense, And then
What's even
they
worse is they don't perform CPR.
no, they just like he's dead, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. If you like turn him, if you like,
First of all,
open his mouth and do the
you're all in fucking
CPR.
high school. You're all in high school, which means every single one of them. I think they're all seniors. Every single fucking one of them should have at least taken a CPR class in health by now.
Uh, well, I mean, just so stupid because they wanted you to like they wanted this moment to happen where you got sad and like they kept doing this thing. It was irritating. Okay, they kept doing this thing where they couldn't quite morph yet, so it kept going back and forth, and then finally at the end they morph. I like the way they did the whole, fire scene where they're all talking about their backgrounds and then
Yeah,
they bond, and that's how they were able to morph. I understand that, but it should have came a half hour earlier. And so after the kid dies and they take him back to the ship and they're like, "Help us," and he's just like, "I can't. He's fucking dead. Sorry."
there was that
And
other
then
subplot that they finished with that as well.
yeah,
Two
like
subplots were fixed
yeah,
with that.
yeah. So Zordon's like, I'm or Alpha Five's like Zordon's coming, and then he doesn't. He like disappears, and and then he pops back up, and he's like, and then the kid wakes up, and he's like, "Yeah, I decided not to come. I decided to switch with him because there could only be one that comes through or something like that." And I was like, "What? Like comes through what? I don't understand." So explain to me how that fucking kid wakes up because Zordon doesn't come out of the transmorphine sector, whatever the fuck, wherever he's locked into.
I could explain it, but it's speculation and it's not shown on film. My thinking was that because the coin chose him, he was part of that morphing chamber. That's the only
Okay.
explanation I can think of. But again, it's not really said in the movie too well because the only reason why Zordon's in there is because Alpha 5 put his memories and shit in there. This guy drowned
Yes.
like far away from the cave. So his essence or
Yeah.
whatever essentially wouldn't be in the morphing chamber like Zordon's was. But again, that's what nerds think about, like us. Like,
Right.
like it's unbelievable already that you've spent a shit ton. You've shown me a shit ton of time that you can swim underwater for a very long time, and you die from that. Then nobody performs fucking CPR. I'm like, are they really not going to perform CPR on TV? Like, was it in the
No.
in the movies? Like, was it not in their contract? Even if you don't know CPR, you've seen it enough in TVs and movies to fucking do it. But
Did
none
you
of
ever
them
watch
do it.
Baywatch? Did you ever watch Baywatch,
I think
motherfucker? Like, come on.
those guys probably did. They're pretty young, but anything like
Yes.
anything would have something with CPR in it. Like so, you know, like I said, I'm not going to try to explain or speculate. I think what I'm thinking is pretty believable, but again, it wasn't shown on film. So like
Yeah.
all these major problems happen towards the last half of the movie, and it's really disappointing.
It's
um, it looked like they changed the way that the Megazord looked too, because I remember seeing it in the teaser and I was like, that looks like shit. But then in the movie,
Yeah.
it looked a lot better. It looks like
It looked pretty awesome.
the Krispy Kreme money came in, and they were able to finish the Megazord.
Yeah, I like the look of the Megazord. I thought it was way cool. Um, and you notice like did the original Power Rangers, were their masks able to open up so you could see the faces and all that?
No, I liked that part. I liked
Yeah,
that
I actually didn't
they
mind
changed
that.
that.
It wasn't like a Venom situation where you're like, no, he doesn't do that.
Yeah,
The Power Rangers one, it kind of made sense.
the way that they designed the masks um, looked like it was possible for that. The aesthetics of the movie, the way that it looked about the Power Rangers looked great. Everything with the Power Rangers, everything about the Power Rangers looked really cool. Goldar was so fuck. Not only does he have a stupid fucking name in the first place, and I know you want to stick with
Hmm.
the old names, whatever. You're stuck with that name. It sucks. But what the hell was that? Like his face looked like the one armored villain at the end, or the armored thing that kills Thor in the first movie, and then he comes
Oh
back.
yeah,
The helmet looked like
Sentinel
that.
thing.
Then of course you got the wings or whatever, but he's all like molten and shit. Like it just looked terrible. It looked so goddamn terrible.
Looked like melted cheese, like a cheese monster or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it looked
It
like
it
a
was it
flake.
was it was bad.
It looks like pieces of like if you were trying to build Goldar out of like flakes of like Goldschlager. That's what it would look like.
Goldschlager.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah,
They
totally.
should. I wonder if instead of like doing Krispy Kreme next time, they should do like Krispy Kreme and like Pepsi. That way they can get. They could have gotten Rita a Megazord too, and that would have been fucking awesome. Because,
Well,
but instead, like Goldar like engulfs her like fucking Clayface or something, and then you know he didn't change. I thought he was like, oh, now he's gonna not look stupid, right? But he didn't do
no.
anything. All he did was like roar really loud. I'm like, did you just
Yeah.
come or something? And
A
that was
bunch of
it.
gold all
Yeah,
over.
nothing
Yeah.
changed. Nothing changed. Like the whole body structure. Like I thought he was all gonna smooth out and look cool. I was like, oh, good. Finally, we're gonna get rid of this stupid looking thing. And then nothing. And then nothing happened.
No,
It's like Krispy
no.
Kreme's check did not clear for that scene.
No, and what's her name can fly really well. Everyone got in the Zord and just started running around like no problem.
Well, I think that has to
And I
do
was
with
like,
the almost like Doctor Octopus type thing, where they're attached to their spinal column. Basically, did you
yeah,
miss that part?
that was I did see that part, but earlier in the movie, when the Asian guy got in there without being morphed, he was able to drive the Zord all over the place. So I wonder how that
Not
happened.
well, not very well because that was showing like he was like running into everything, like he couldn't control it.
Yeah. So I guess you got to be tapped in, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
Something like that. But yeah, I mean, I could see where they were going with the movie. I just wish that they would have hurried up a little bit more. They spent way too much time, getting to that point, and I wanted them to get there a lot quicker. Like I could foresee. I'm like, yeah, they got a bond, and then that'll get them to finally morph and all that shit. Like I get it, but it took fucking forever. And I was kind of hoping for like a mini boss or something, something to kind of whet their appetite a little bit, or whet our appetite a little bit
or
for the end battle.
somebody picking on. Well, they kind of removed all picking on ever again because something they changed also is that when the Rangers in the not the cartoon, Jesus, in the TV show, when they're not in their costumes, they're just normal kids with their normal strength. And
Yes.
usually when they fight whatever Rita, throws at them, they do a pretty decent job until more of them show up because they're skilled martial artists, especially the Red and Green Ranger. So anyway, um, but then they have to morph if they're fighting more people. In this one, they're fucking really strong without their costumes or without morphing. So
Hmm.
they become like almost indestructible, I guess, with the suit on
See, like
because
I get that. Like, I think the whole fighting aspect too. Like, I would have liked some sort. Maybe if they explain, like, hey, when you have the suit on, it's kind of like number one, it's symbiotic. It's to your own skin. Like, you control it and all that stuff. But it should have some sort of like matrix feel to it, where you can upload, like, okay, I could do kung fu now. I can do I could fly these Zords now. It's programmed into the suit because these guys like they get their asses kicked down in the cavern, and then at the end of the movie, now all of a sudden they're just beating these rock monsters like no problem. And I'm like,
Right.
wait a minute, like this after 11 days, this makes, and even not even 11 days, maybe 8 days, because a couple of those days they were doing some other shit, and I'm just like, this it just didn't make it just took me out of the movie because I'm like, oh god, like this is another Iron Fist situation where you just don't see any training, you don't see anything, and then all of a sudden
Well,
they
let's
can
be
like
fair.
do all this
This
shit.
let's be fair. This looked a lot better than Iron Fist in the fightings.
Yeah, I did
Even
like Iron
though
Fist.
even though like 90% of it is CG when the Rangers are fighting those monsters. Like, well, actually, I think there's probably people in green tights on set,
Right.
but still, this looked a lot better.
It was a throwback to the show because they're in
Yeah,
a quarry fighting these monsters, and I'm like, this looks familiar. They're usually like fighting like in some like field or
or
in some
abandoned like
like
place, warehouse or something. Yeah,
yeah, and so they're fighting these creatures. I'm like, all right, and when they're like Go-Go Power Rangers singing the song and their Zords are like running, that looked exactly like the TV show too. And I was like, okay, they got to do the little throwback thing. And I kind of rolled my eyes a little bit. It was like, whatever. And then Rita, like the way they got rid of her, I thought was pretty stupid too.
yeah.
They like
It was a nice
well
callback though.
it was a callback to bitch slapping the bully, yeah. So he bitch slaps Rita and she flies into the stratosphere and like gets frozen in
Well, it's
space. And
better
I'm
than
like, okay, well,
Transformers where they just drop Megatron in the ocean.
yeah, without dismantling him and
Yeah,
melting
because
him,
like
so he'll never
Megatron,
come
like
back
because
ever.
the ocean does have a bottom. We don't know where space ends. So,
That was so stupid. I
uh,
hate those movies so much.
but anyway, like yeah, there's major problems at the end of this movie. It there. I was actually other than the character development, I was really surprised with how funny this movie was. I don't know if the jokes hit for you, but they kind of came out of left field for me, like right off the bat with the cow when he was like milking
Oh
the
yeah,
cow. I was like, holy shit, this
that
is a
was kind of
Power
funny.
Rangers movie. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Some of the jokes I think hit pretty well, and some of them are a little much. But the Alpha 5 character, every time they had him on screen, I was like, oh my god, this is torture. Like nobody would be like that.
that's what happens when you don't take care with a robot that's supposed to be a comic relief. Like you take Rogue One. Was it
K2SO,
Yeah,
yeah.
like he's the comic relief in that, but he's not really in your face. It's because his character is so dry and so forthcoming that like whatever he says just ends up being funny. He's
Well,
not trying to be funny.
Cassian has that line where he says he whatever comes into his circuits he says. Like
Right.
anything that just comes in there, he
There's
just
no
says out, he
filter, right?
blurts it out loud. No filter, yeah. So like that kind of explained the robot away, right? Like right away, you're like, okay, cool. But yeah, the Alpha 5 character, I was like, oh my god, like
I would probably
this
say
is
like
just so
90% of his
bad.
jokes were just trying to make kids laugh. He hit on a
Something.
couple of
It was
things.
definitely there for kids.
His
Yeah, it was
dry,
there for
I
kids.
think the lines that hit the most for me were when he was kind of like K2, where he was kind of dry in what he was saying, like not
Yeah.
understanding what was going on. Those were probably those were when I laughed. Some of my
Well,
funniest parts were with Billy saying what
yeah.
he was saying because of the issues that he had and the stuff that he said were really funny.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff he was saying was kind of like mumbling, but you could hear it. You're like, "Oh, that's funny." Like it was kind of like, I
It
can't
fit his
remember any of his
it
lines,
fit his
but
character. It fit his character really well.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I mean, the character development I thought was really strong. I was very surprised how much I enjoyed all the characters. Like I cared about them. But I think you're right. Like the last like just 15 minutes kind of threw all that away, and then it was just like
Probably longer than that.
just
Like as soon as like the scene that you're talking about where Rita goes to Trini's house, that whole scene
yeah,
is fucked up because of how loud she's being. I mean, I guarantee you, if like I'm dead asleep with the door locked, the fan is going, the AC is blasting, and I hear that kind of banging in in my daughter's room, I'm gonna
hmm
fucking wake up. And these are two grown humans, like two grown women,
yes,
like going at it. And then after that, she just like lets like she literally does the stupid evil villainness or evil villain 80s thing in this, even though Rangers were in the 90s. I'm going to go back to the 80s, where they explain the entire thing, and then she tells you she's going to do that. You know, she's like, I'm not going to kill all the Rangers, but Zordon wouldn't expect me to not kill any of you. And I'm like, what? You have all of them dead to rights. Why would you not fucking kill them?
Yeah, and she even says to Trini, or to somebody like, I kill Rangers. I killed all the Rangers. I could kill them
Yeah,
for a living. She says that, and then when she has them all dead to rights, she's just like, and she now knows where the power crystal is, or whatever the hell she's trying to
right.
grab, that will destroy the Earth. I was like, then what's the set? Why keeping all these people alive? Kill them.
I always think of
Kill them off.
Scott from Austin Powers, when like that
Yes.
scene, because it's so that scene is probably one of the dumber scenes, where she has them all dead to rights. She knows Billy is telling the truth about Krispy Kreme, where the crystal is, and she just like has a throwaway line where it's like, oh, I don't, you're not worthy of dying. I'm like, who gives a fuck? Kill him. Because if you don't, like, what's the chance? Like, they're gonna come back. Like, they're gonna fuck you
Yeah, she's
somehow.
she's killing homeless people,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
yet she won't
For
kill those kids. I'm just
for
like, what the
a
hell?
few pieces of gold, like barely any gold, and then
Right, under the teeth.
here's four Rangers that are left because you killed the other one. Here's four Rangers that are left that could actually do some damage, and you're just gonna let them live.
Yeah, it was a
So
little weird.
again, there's some dumb things that happen in the back half of this movie. There's probably no, I would say it's like 30% nitpicking, 70% what the fuck were you thinking? Because I wish they took the time like they did for the character development.
Yeah, well, the movie it didn't cost a lot compared to like other movies. I want to say it's like 110. I know that it's still a lot, but not for, you know, the type of movies that have been coming out recently in the 150s or 200s and all that stuff. So I kind of see where they waited to the very end to do all the CG ridden, all the shit action at the end. But still, I mean, I think they could have like paced it. It had pacing problems for me, and I think that's why I really dislike the movies, because I'm like, you spent all this time developing the characters, yet you did not, spend the time in what made Power Rangers great, and that was all the fighting and all that stuff, and then they spent a lot of time making it very realistic, to only throw all that away at the end, and that bothered me too. I'm just like, you guys like have to stick with one thing and just do that thing, and not, go from one thing to the other, like really good decisions in the beginning to really stupid poor ones at the end. And it was very frustrating for me. So I don't know, I guess hate maybe is a strong word. I could see like the value in the film, especially with the characters. I know that if kids, like, a 10-year-old loved the movie, 13-year-old was kind of like, it was okay. uh, there were a lot of kids in the theater that were, really liking the movie and stuff like that. So I think that's the demographic. It's just that for me, it was like, I think for our age, they're banking on the fact that, oh well, when you were a teenager, you watched this, and so you'll come watch it for nostalgic reasons. I didn't come to watch it for nostalgic reasons. I saw the trailer and went, holy shit, they really took a serious take on this. I'm interested now. And for the most part, they did that. But again, at the end, I felt like they just kind of tossed that as they did everything right up to a certain point, and then they just kind of just ran out of gas and said, well, now we got to get to the fighting, and so we got to do this. And then it was just, again, like with so much CG work and all this stuff, it's really hard to care about what they're doing. The only thing I cared about was when the father tipped the car over and he got out of his Zord to go help his dad. I was like, that's fucking pretty cool. I like that. And his dad, in a way, kind of knew it was him, but wasn't,
Yeah,
but not really, like, because he, like, he had all his football
he
pictures,
spoke.
stapled all over the house, and then he put the picture of the ranger, the
Right,
nameless ranger on the what you call it, because the ranger called him by by his name, so that's why he was like,
right.
well, he knows me, so maybe it's my I don't know. So it's kind of ambiguous, but I like that. I thought that was great. Um, but again, I think just really, it's always something in these movies. It's always like not enough character development, but in this movie it was a lot. And then it was like,
Yeah.
oh shit, we gotta. That's right. Fuck, we gotta put him in the suits and get him in the sword. Shit.
There is a really great movie in here. There really is. If you fix like a lot, if you fix a lot of issues where you completely take Goldar out of it because he looks fucking dumb, that's the only reason to take him out of it. Like, I don't. There was no character development for Goldar. There was no reasoning for Goldar to be in here. Most importantly, the main reason for him not to be in this movie was he looked stupid.
Yeah, he
That's
looked
it.
terrible. He looked
And if you're
terrible.
gonna CG a giant fucking like thing like out of gold, I don't know how much cheaper or the like equivalent it would have been to have Rita be a Zord, like at the end,
Yeah,
where she has her Zord there buried as well, and she's like, "All right, you guys want to form the Megazord?" Because she looks like she's never seen the Megazord before, like that they've never done, like the Zords have never done that before. So that would have been kind of badass, where Rita was in her own Zord, but bigger than the other Zords, bigger than the Red Ranger Zord, the T Rex. That would have been kind of cool, where she was, twice the size of the normal Zords, but still in like some kind of animal thing, like I don't know, I guess a dragon or something.
oh yeah,
But but and then they would have had to form the Megazord to defeat her. That would have looked aesthetically so much better
yeah,
than this thing dripping gold. Right?
yeah.
It looks so much. It would have looked so much better.
So the writers, uh, and the director. Actually, I don't even know who wrote or directed this. I don't know how much.
The director's most famous movie was Project Almanac from like 2 years ago. That was that Time Machine
Uh,
movie.
yeah,
So
that was
I can
okay.
understand that had a little bit of this in it, where there's a bunch of teenage kids like coming together to do something.
It had a lot of character
So
development in it. Yeah,
right, so there's some things in there where you see, again, if you take a step back from this movie with what they were trying to do, and somebody tries to pitch you this movie, you're like, oh, that kind of works, but I don't get this part, of that part.
hmm
If you remove those parts from the movie, this movie would this movie would be one of the best like surprises of the year. There
yeah,
is real, because of what they did with the. If they didn't make me care about the characters, I wouldn't be sitting here saying that.
yeah. No, it would have been a big piece of shit. It would have been
Yeah,
like a really big piece of shit. But I do care about those characters, and I'm actually, I mean, even though I really hated this movie for not in a way of like, like Warcraft or something like that. I just hated it because I think it could have been so much better. Like
or Iron
I
Fist.
saw the potential.
Iron Fist had potential too.
Yeah, exactly. Like I see the potential in it so much. Like I wish somebody would have came and looked at the draft of the script and like said, "Okay, awesome on this, but we need to fix this piece." Like someone needed to come in who had experience with, you know, fighting, like John Wick or directors or something like that. Somebody to come in and like kind of spruce it up a little bit and say, "Okay, this looks good here, but let's do this." Cuz
They
like
should come. They should come to us and like say like, okay, we got them training for 11 days to do, and right then and there I would have stopped them. I'd be like, you're training teenagers for 11 days to save the world.
yeah.
Like, what are you, like the fucking oil drilling guys from Armageddon? You're gonna train for like 2 weeks to go, like 8 days to go save the world, to fucking go into space, like
Yeah.
fly a space shuttle and
I
shit. Like,
I
hold on a second, you can't do this in 11 days.
yeah, I man. They should have had something a little bit different. Like Rita shouldn't have been on the earth with them. She should have been off planet, and she recognizes the signal from the ship once the Rangers like enter it and all that stuff. And then so she's coming from really far away, but in the meantime, there's stuff that they have to deal with on Earth, and then she like gets there. So this could be like a year, or it could be 6 months later, or something like that. So they've had enough time to train and get to know each other and all that shit. The
And you
whole
know how they do that smoothly? You know how they do that smoothly?
yeah.
The same way they fucking time jumped in The Karate Kid, by showing little things here and there about the season changing,
Oh yeah,
little like the Halloween parties in the background, because they are going to high school. Like, but you know what? The problem is, I liked the first 5 minutes of this movie, and and taking Rita off the planet ruins that intro. Like I loved that part because so that takes Rita out of it. There's got to be a better way to get Rita um to do it. Or instead of having Rita be the main villain of the movie, you have all of her henchmen finally figuring out that it was Earth that she's at, right? And you have all these like henchmen like trying to figure out where she is.
Oh, and
And then but at
Resurrector.
the same time,
Yeah.
but they don't resurrect her. At the same time, they're still doing this thing. They're still like, they have their own thing going, some monster that they don't need Rita to fucking do, and that'll explain why you still have the Zords and all that shit.
Oh, and then
And
they
then
make then
and
at the
then
very end, like the Joker, at the very
right,
end, she
and
kind of
then at the mid credit scene, you find out that two or three of the henchmen finally find her, and you see the glowing like yellow eyes or whatever of Rita. Speaking of mid credits, so what you walked out on was
yes.
detention.
Tell me.
So he's doing the names like a la Ferris Bueller. He's doing all the names, and then all of a sudden he says Tommy something. I forget the last name.
In
But
detention.
it's
In the detention.
yeah,
Okay.
and that's the Green Ranger's name. That's how he came about in the TV show. Was he wore all green and shit? His name was Tommy. And did you catch the cameos?
At the very end, I saw the Pink Ranger and the Green Ranger at the very end with the
Yeah. So
taking
right.
selfies
So the
or
Green
pictures.
Ranger is Tommy. Right. Exactly. So the Green Ranger is Tommy. So that teases the Green Ranger coming in. So he'll be like the Wrath of Khan type character in the second Power Rangers movie.
Okay.
So
They have the green
a
coin.
good tease.
They got the green coin from Rita.
I don't know, but that's what I'm saying. Like there's a little I don't remember. I know he was brought about or trained or manipulated from Rita to take down the Power Rangers. But when you make Rita a former Power Ranger, it would have been awesome to not have to pull the Tommy card until the third movie.
Right. Right.
Because then you could have had Rita come as the big baddie in the second one. Because you don't have to shoot your load in the first one. You know what I mean? Like you're trying, because apparently they're trying to build this again, this fucking multi-universe or whatever this, not shared universe, but this like multi-picture thing. And you didn't have to blow your load with Rita because now you got to explain how the fuck she came back from outer space. If
Right.
that's going to be your second
Yeah,
movie.
because so you saw the article. I think I sent it to you yesterday. I mean, the movie already had a 40 something percent, and then the guy who created the whole thing comes on and says, "Yeah, we have an idea for 6 pictures," and I'm like, not with 40 something percent. You don't like you.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no way. I mean, like unless this movie makes 400 million or something, worldwide, there's no way they're going to make any more of these. So
Listen, whoever is running this show, come to us before you put down another 11-day training program. Because seriously, it's not going to fucking work. Like just come talk to us. Come talk to us. What is it, Bandai? And I think Bandai does the toys
yeah,
or whatever. Saban or Saban, whatever
Saban,
is
yeah.
the. Come talk to us. We're not huge Rangers fans. I mean, like I used to watch it a little bit, like for like a 3-month period. I was like really heavily into it. Just come talk to us because we know story. And I would have told you right off the bat, do CPR there. Don't do 11-day training, right? And
Have the parents
know,
knock on the door and say, "Are you okay?"
yeah, have the parents who their entire house is shattering, like shaking, wake up, like make that part a little bit more realistic. Because I was like, I'm like, oh, that would have, you know what would have been awesome for that, and like really sad and tragic is if the parents did come in, Rita killed them instead,
Yeah,
in order to force the Yellow Ranger to bring him to that trap.
yeah, because see, that makes a lot more sense. It's just you have to have some sort of conflict or some sort of like rock bottom that they hit, and the rock bottom that they hit in the movie just didn't work. It didn't.
You're
y-
you're talking
Like,
about Billy dying, right?
yeah, Billy dying. You're just like, they're not going to let that fucking kid die. Come on. But if they killed off a parent and the parent doesn't come back, it's like, oh shit, like, oh man, you know, we and then there's like all this like conflict and being upset and pissed off
Then
and
you can rally around her, and
rally around it. Yeah,
there's how you form. That's how you start morphing.
yeah,
Problem
exactly.
solved. Seriously, how are we not being paid for this shit?
I don't know.
And
I'm
don't. And I would have been like, the other thing I would have been like, wait, what did you turn Goldar into? How does she get what? Okay, so at the end of the movie, so for the first part of the movie, she's just pulling gold teeth from homeless people, which this is a really small town. How many homeless people are there with gold teeth? So that's beside the point. Then, as she's like half powered up, she can just call the gold from the ground
she's like the mum.
and
She's
do
like
this
the
shit
mummy. She's like the mummy. Remember in the mummy,
with all the
they would
powers.
suck. Yeah, they would suck the like whoever took the body parts, the organs.
Yeah,
He tracked them down, and then he would suck the life out of him, and then he started becoming more whole. Well, like with her, it's like every time she grabbed a piece of gold or something off somebody, she'd start like turning back into her old self. I just found that
yeah.
so weird. I was like, really? That's the
So you
catalyst?
need, well, I don't understand why you need to eat gold to be healthier or to rejuvenate, and then why, like, what's Goldar? Is he your child or,
Well, like they
um,
okay, so just start from back when the fishermen found her and they put her in the with the fish, right? And
right?
and then all of a sudden she lights up and then she has the gold thing and I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. Why didn't she wake up like she had to come out of the ocean to wake up? Like I don't understand.
I
There
don't
was
know.
no indication of like if anything okay, what would have worked a lot better is that if the asteroid's coming, right? Because what's his name calls it from Alpha 5. Send the asteroid. And she looks up and sees it and then she pulls like some trick out of her bag where like she gets enveloped by some uh like force field or some rock formation or
Made out
some
of gold.
yeah, perfect. Okay, perfect. That envelops her and keeps her safe, but then gets buried. So now she's like in cryogenic stasis, like underground in this fucking gold shield thing. And then they find her that way. Because I was like, how the fuck did she end up in the ocean? Did the asteroid hit and then like it shoved her way out to sea or something like that?
Yeah, it did.
I can't remember.
Yeah, it did.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that was retarded. That was really stupid. So I think if like she just pulled out this like, oh fuck, I got this like force field like one time shield thing I can use and it envelops her and then she gets buried like cryogenically. Like kind of like,
but
a
the other
fly
thing
in
is like,
Ember for Jurassic
but
Park
the
or
other thing
something.
like is like, she should have been dead. Like, Alpha 5 like held Zordon's essence in the ship, but like, where was her essence? It
That's
wasn't
what
in
I'm
a staff
saying.
that she
Like
didn't have.
the ocean just kept her mummified down there and then when she got out, the oxygen, she needed the oxygen to like all of a sudden wake up. That
I
made
don't know.
absolutely no sense, like at all, how she was able to come back. So I think if
That was
she
still one of the
was
coolest parts in the movie, though. The first 5 minutes is still one of the coolest parts in
Oh,
the movie.
no, it was really cool because I was like, "Oh shit, like I've never seen this before." You see Bryan Cranston as this like alien and you're like, "Oh, that's Bryan Cranston. Holy shit." Like
Yeah,
this is so cool, They crashed on Earth and they're battling it out and he does this like one last move to like kill her in the process and all that, which he does, but then she fucking comes back and it just that didn't work for me either. I was like, this doesn't make any sense. So like if
yeah.
she
I like the Zordon part where they don't make him like an all knowing being. Instead, they make him the former Red Ranger, and I was like, oh, that's pretty interesting.
yeah,
It's a new take on it.
that was pretty cool cuz like he's like you fucking Red Ranger, I'm going to come out of retirement and take over and
I didn't like that. I
lead
didn't
these
like that
stupid
subplot.
kids. I was like, "No." I'm like, "That's not what you're supposed to do. Like you're supposed to help them." You
Yeah,
know,
bad Zordon.
But but at the last minute, he's just like, "All right, I'll save the Blue Ranger. I'll stay in this fucking wall." He looked like one of those toys you could buy that they're all nails,
Yeah,
and you put your hand in it to make a hand or
yeah,
your face. Yeah, that's
yeah.
what he
You
looked
did.
like. I was like, okay.
Yeah,
But Bryan Cranston's always solid, and he worked. Um,
or the stuff from Krypton in Man of Steel.
from yeah,
Remember, like,
totally.
because like when he was having like a call, like Jor Jor El was having a call with his wife, She would come
Yes.
on the thing, and it looked like that. That was like
Yeah.
Zordon.
Yeah, exactly. Zordon's from Krypton. He's like, I left there too when Superman left. Like, I got the hell out of there. Why any
What
why
was your what
why
was one of
no
your
one
favorite?
else had a spaceship to fly out of a Krypton? I have no idea, but I took mine and left. I'm like, fuck you people, you're stupid. Why would you sit there? Why would you not make a ship big enough to fit you and the baby in? Idiots. So
Yeah, I never thought that made sense. Like he had all this time to build a spaceship, but he only builds one big enough
for a
for the
baby.
baby. Like
It's like, I hope you
I
survive.
know,
Bye.
yeah, I know. It's like I'm not leaving you in front of an orphanage. I'm shooting you into fucking space. I mean, even if I leave you at the orphanage, there's still a good chance you might not be okay afterwards, like psychologically. But I'm gonna shoot this rocket into space that only fits, somebody who's 12 inches tall.
I hope you make it there.
Yeah.
Uh,
And there's no food or breast milk, by the way. You're just gonna fly there. I forgot to make anything for food in this spaceship. So I hope this spaceship gets there fast enough before you starve to death.
run out of oxygen.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, yeah. One or two things is going to happen if you veer off your course. You're going to either starve or die of oxygen, lack of oxygen.
deprivation.
So
Yeah. Uh,
I hope you hit that yellow sun quicker than later.
I mean, Zordon's in that wall, and I'm just like, he sees the poor autistic kid die, right? He's just like,
Yeah.
it would have been so funny if he said, "Fuck that guy, I'm coming out anyway," and he comes out. He's like, I haven't had a dick in like 2 million years. I'm coming 65 million years. I'm coming out. I want to get me some
I gotta,
trim around
I
here.
gotta pee. I don't know how to pee. My mind is telling me I gotta take a leak, but I have no idea how to take a leak.
He had no arms or legs, and like only thing he could do is like move side to side. His head would just like roll around the
Yeah.
spaceship. I was
I would have been
like,
like Alpha 5. You've 65 million years. You couldn't have fucking built it wall to wall all the way up and down. Like, give me a fucking dome or something.
yeah, why couldn't you let me roam the ship? Why couldn't you
Like,
like put me in a robot and like let me
what the
walk
fuck were you
around?
doing for 65 million years? Like, seriously, that's a long fucking time.
I'm saying, I'm
You
just
could
like,
have like decorated just a little bit more, or maybe changed it. Maybe repaired the fucking ship.
how's the battery still working? How's the ship powered?
He
I mean,
literally did nothing. Because
no,
remember, in the beginning when they're walking to the ship, somebody's like, "Yeah, it's been here a really long time. Look how the rock has grown around the ship." And it's like, fucking lazy fuck Alpha 5. What the fuck?
yet it's not dirty in there
You couldn't have
at
even
all.
like done
There's
some
no dust.
landscaping outside. You could have done some landscaping to make sure the fucking rocks aren't engulfing the ship. Lazy fucking robot.
I was thinking like if they went inside there, he would be powered off or something like that. They'd have to like turn him on because like he's been dead for a long time. They're
Yeah,
like,
to
where's our
save battery life.
iPod charger? We got to plug him in. It's like,
He was probably using the same charger that they use at Kunlun for Danny Rand's iPod that he was listening to in the Himalayas.
I ran out of chi. My music stopped. Uh,
That's why it's only in one hand, because that's the hand he holds the iPod in.
That's right. He's like, I'm gonna jerk off with my iron fist. Let's see how this works. Uh, oh my god.
All right, let's go into let's go into diversity ratings. We're
Well, I'm
almost at
gonna
an
tell you.
hour on the Power Rangers.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now. The diversity is through the charts. I definitely. This is my first plethora. I think I might have done a plethora before, but this was a
Of the
big
year
plethora for me.
of the
This
year,
was
this is your first
of the year.
plethora.
This is big time plethora. They did a fantastic job making this cast very diverse, not just in gender or ethnicity, but also with with special needs type issues, with sexuality type issues. they did a wonderful, wonderful job painting these characters for people to really relate to. So
It's
definitely
not
a
really in your
plethora.
face either. It's not
No,
really in your face. It just
no, and
is.
that's what I love about it. And so
The
all the
part
critics out
where
there that are saying all that shit really bugs the hell out of me. Like if you say to me that the homosexuality was blatant and in your face, fuck you, because I think Billy is more in your face than anyone else. But it's not so in your face where you're like, oh my god, I get it, your special needs. It's not like that at all. It's very, very well done and very treated very, very well. And so you can't sit there and fucking say that the sexuality is in your face. That's complete bullshit. So fuck you. But the writers did a really good job with the characters. Anyway, go ahead. Your ratings.
I'm gonna go plethora too with the main cast. It's kind of white outside of the main cast,
Hmm.
but they don't really like dive a lot into outside of the cast at all. There's very few scenes that don't revolve around these five kids. Um, so mine's a plethora. My favorite thing, not favorite thing, but I love how they handled Trini's secret, and I also liked how they handled Zach too. I was a little afraid of that,
Hmm.
with him just speaking Mandarin. So like I was okay with all of that. Um, so yeah, very plethora on the main cast, and very well done of not shoving things in your face and just making it like real life, like it's not a big fucking deal.
Right. So as far as like ratings, again, like I disliked everything else about this movie. So like I'm gonna give it I'll give it 2.5 chainsaws out of 5. That's for me. Really not
Yeah,
much more to say about it.
I liked it a lot better than you, but I am going to go 2.5 lightsabers too, just because I can't justify the last half of the movie.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like if I gave it a 3, it would probably do like a disservice to the other movies that so far this year I've given to like a 3.5 or 3.75, because those are pretty solid movies, and probably some of them should have been 4 or 5 stars, but or not stars, Jesus, lightsabers. But this I like this movie. If I gave it a 3, it would also be like a nostalgia type thing as well. So
Hmm.
I gotta I gotta like stay grounded with this and go 2.5 stars. Very
Agreed.
pleasantly surprised with the characters development. I thought that was probably something that I was just not going to give a shit, and I was just going to see a shit ton of special effects. I got the opposite. Maybe a
Yeah.
little bit too much character development. The special effects were just enough, but it was getting to that point that either was that, like you said, took too slow. My biggest issue was that it was just really convenient and really
Yeah.
stupid plot points of 11 days to train to do this shit. So there was
Right.
11 days to fight hand to hand, and 0 to pilot giant Zords, even if they were like attached to you like symbiotically. I've never been part of a symbiote, so I have no idea how that fucking works. But I'm gonna guess like everything else, even like if I picked up, the new Nintendo Switch. I've played video games all my life. There would be some kind of learning curve, and that's a fucking video game, not a 60-foot fucking giant Tyrannosaurus Rex robot. So so 11 days martial arts, 0 training days on flying symbiotic Zords will get you down to a 2.5 lightsaber for me.
That's perfect. So here's the weird thing. Even though I didn't like this movie at all, I will say this. I hope this movie makes enough money and then they really put a serious treatment on the second one. They get some people in there that know what the hell they're doing. And I mean, they got the characters down. Now it's time to get down to the shit, get down to the nitty gritty, get down to the, you know, at
Just fix
least
the
like
story.
at least like the first at least like I look back at the Ninja Turtles. Such a weird thing, but I look back at the Ninja Turtles, not the Michael Bay one, but the one from a long time ago. They did a really good job of like painting all those turtles, like all these different types of personalities and all that stuff. And they fight together, but yet they bicker. Yet they hit rock bottom at a certain point. Then they have to like kind of rise up and get back together and fight and all that. And I was kind of hoping for something like that, and what I got was a little, was a little different. So I'm hoping that in the next one they kind of do something to where, yeah, they're, I mean, they're working together and stuff, but there's still some like problems, and number one, and then number two, the fighting and the Zords and things have to change a little bit. They got to come up with something a little bit better, and the graphics need to look better. You know,
Not
if
in
they
the
want to,
suits or the Zords on the villains because they look terrible.
yeah, they look terrible. So, they've got some time now. I hope this movie makes money because I want them to come back and make something, you know, a lot better. But I don't know. Like you look at the Ninja Turtle one, the new one. The first Ninja Turtle one was like, and then the second one was just like crazy ridiculous. Like they just went for it. They totally made it like cartoonish and all that stuff.
That's what I'm afraid of
I
this
don't
one.
want Power Rangers to do that. I want them to be serious.
Yeah.
Make a really serious movie. And they had the potential here. They really had the potential, and now it's like they make the money and they are going to greenlight a sequel. Now you need to get down to business and like really make a good movie.
Just make a
So
coherent story and
yeah,
don't make things out of convenience.
right. Do a fucking table read for God's sake, and go like, hey, I don't like that. Like that
Yeah,
that
have
doesn't
some
sound very good.
hire us, and just to
Yeah,
sit there and listen to you guys or
pay
read
me
the script and be like,
pay me 100
this doesn't
bucks.
make any sense. This doesn't make any
I'll take
sense
a
here.
hundred bucks and some. I'll take $100 and some Krispy Kreme, and I'll tell
And
you,
movie premiere tickets.
yeah, exactly. That's we're cheap,
Just
So
just make it make sense. That's it. Just make it make sense. And this
exactly.
movie this movie is like if this movie makes sense, it's easily like 3 or 4 stars or 4 lightsabers for
Totally,
me. It just has
totally.
to make sense because you got me on board with the characters, and then you just fucking forgot all the other shit. It's like, well, why did you take so much time for making me to care about these people, and then you put them in dire situations? I'm like, I'm going to care about that, but then don't surround them with stupidity. Like,
That was a big problem for me. Like they spent all that time at care with the characters, and then they did a lot of stupid things that made you not care, which is weird because usually it's the opposite. Usually they like the DC movies, for instance, they do all the stupid shit that are uncharacteristic of the character. So by the end, when they're sacrificing themselves or doing something crazy, whatever, you don't give a shit. I would have gave a shit if one of these characters sacrificed themselves and then and then come up with like a plausible way to like bring them back. But I would have cared a lot more if one of them had to do something to sacrifice himself to make you go, "Oh my god, that's horrible," or make the bad guy do something villainous and
or like
awful.
I said, like kill the parents.
Yeah, or something of that nature. But anyway, hopefully you'll do that in the second movie. Kill some
I
parents off.
all the cards all the all the cards point to a type of a movie like this where the first one isn't received really well by critics. Um, Surprisingly, like it's at 44%, but I think this is actually ranking low. Does this rank lower than the first reboot of the Ninja Turtles movie?
It might. It's pretty low, but I actually almost going when I was walking into the movies, I was thinking to myself, oh no, like this is probably more like way lower than this. I think I just had this bad feeling, but I came out going like, well, I didn't like that movie, but it doesn't deserve like 30 or 20% or something like
No,
that. Like
okay,
I
so
think it's right where it's at. It's
it's
right
at
where it's
forty six
supposed to be at.
percent. It's
Yeah,
at 46%. I'm pushing more towards like 55,
yeah,
probably 55 plus. The first Ninja Turtles reboot was 22%, so not close.
yeah. Now is it better
So
than like Man of Steel? And I'd have to say it
no,
kind of
Man is still in the
is.
50s.
See, it
Well,
kind of is.
in the sense of like in the sense that I care about the character, yeah, I
Yeah,
think this movie does
they
is a
got
lot
they
better.
got the characters. Yes,
Yeah, so
absolutely.
he had yeah, Man of Steel. He only was supposed to care about one. He couldn't do it. This one I care about all five.
Totally, totally. All right.
So we got to end
Well,
this. This is this is really long for Power
yeah,
Rangers.
this is really right. But anyway, so yeah, we'll wrap it up. But yeah, so
Oh,
Power
so how about this?
Rangers.
Is it worth a ticket? Do you think it's worth a ticket?
For me, no. I could have waited for
No.
this on DVD, to be honest with you. But again, they have an opportunity now to make something really great. So I hope
For me,
they
for
did.
me, it was at least worth
This
the
was
ticket.
one big character development movie. So now it's time to fucking get to start kicking some ass next time. That's my whole thing. So
I
I'm
think
on board for
it's
the
going
next
to go
one if
too
they do it.
much. It's going to go
Yeah.
too much.
Maybe.
It, I hope not, but you can see that it
Yeah.
could be there because
Saban,
there's a potential to
call.
be like really good. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Saban, give us a call. Krispy Kreme and $100. I'm there.
I'm not going to go
All
with
right.
the Krispy Kremes.
Whatever you want. Taco Bell. What do you want?
Wawa.
Wawa. All right. Well, we'll end on that note. That was Chew on This, episode 74, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic.
Until next time, folks, chew on that.
Later.